Hey folks, it's a regular human Raina here, ready to do a new video with you. I'm so excited. Before we get started, a couple housekeeping items. Please like and subscribe and click that bell if you want to get notified about new videos. Please be sure to check me out on patreon.com/RainaMermaid, where for as little as $2 a month, you can get loads of exclusive content, including exclusive merch that you can't get anywhere at a way cheaper price because you're paying like a subscription fee monthly. Tons of resources for running your own mermaid business that you can't get anywhere else. Behind the scenes, early videos. These videos are going to be coming out weekly. Maybe I might be able to do 2 a week. I'm really excited. It depends. But yeah, definitely check it out. If you're not in a position where you can spend $2 a month or any other amount, you can actually still click the follow button on Patreon to be notified of things as they pop up. And if your circumstances change and you see something that you may enjoy, you can do that. You can also do it on a monthly basis. You don't have to renew. Let's say if you just want to do it 1 month to get those perks and then you don't want to do it after that, you can totally cancel at any time. There's no fees or anything like that to cancel. So again, patreon.com/RainaMermaid. So today we are doing a Q&A from my exclusive group, Raina the Mermaid Sea Fans. You can find it on Facebook. You can also find it if you are a member of my Patreon pod, which is really fun. So I'm just gonna read some of these questions and try to answer them. So Lou wants to know, when will our film be available for people in the USA to watch? All right, so let me tell you, making a documentary or any kind of film is such a long process. So from start to finish, when we started having the talks and then the film was in the theater, was literally 2 years. And now we're moving into the 2.5 year area as we are going back and forth with different broadcasters, trying to make a decision on who we want to broadcast with. So there's all the streaming services out there. There's also Canadian broadcasting that's interested in us and American broadcasting. And there's different trade-offs that you do where they geocache things so that people in certain areas can't watch it, or they may want to buy a license for it just to run it a handful of times on air. Anyway, it's like this whole convoluted process. And each networking group has their own standards that the film has to reach before they will display it. So it may be that it has to be X amount of minutes long, or it can't have this content, or it must have this content, or it can't have this music, or it must have this music. So every time we have to sit down with a group, we have to see if it's possible to tweak the film to reach what they want. There's also significant interest around an actual TV show. And so it's just really convoluted back and forth. There's no straight up answer for you yet. We've had a few offers. We are trying to make a decision. On paper, it's like, oh wow, it's amazing that that group wants to show your film. But then in reality, it's like, okay, is this going to offset the costs? Are enough people going to be able to see it? What is this going to mean for us long term? So there's a lot of decision making that goes into it. It's driving me nuts because I have a copy of it and all I want to do is post it online for everyone to see and send it to my friends. I find it so hard, and like the time is going by because in parts of the film I have my braces and I'm like so young because it was almost 3 years ago now. Yeah, so it's crazy. And my friends who are in the film Mermaids, the documentary, I mean that was filmed like 4 or 5 years ago, and it's still like being put on different broadcasters. It just came on Amazon Prime and you can watch it there and learn about my girl Rachel and some of the other amazing Murs in there like Cookie. And it's on iTunes and it's on Super Channel, and then it gets put on Canadian broadcasting sometimes, and it's still, I think, going through film festivals. And that's the same thing with us too. We have the opportunity to submit to more film festivals, which come with different perks as well. So it's just a convoluted thing. The second it is available, we are gonna go crazy and we're gonna have like an online watch party. Like we'll probably do some giveaways. I'm also seeing if we can show it at some of these events that I'm going to be performing at internationally and in the States. So that's another option too. We'll see what happens. So I'm sorry that I don't have like a direct answer for you. There's like some things I can't discuss until things are signed, but like I really, believe me, I want it to be out there super soon so that everyone can see it. Because honestly, even if you take me out of it, the way that it displays our community is just so damn beautiful. And everyone who sees it cries, and everybody is really amazed. And I still have people coming up to me in public about it. So I really, really want you guys to see it. It's really awesome. Okay, next question. Jessica would like to know, are there significant differences in the silicone tails in terms of weight and or speed, like say a Mertailor versus Merbella versus Mernation versus Finfolk? So I can only talk about the tails I've experienced, but in general, yes. There's always going to be a difference depending on the monofin used, depending on how wide the tail is, the fluke itself, how much drag there is. Our she creature tail has the biggest fluke, but it has the smallest monofin, and it is our slowest tail because there is so much drag. It also doesn't have any drainage. I find that drainage makes a huge difference because the water that comes in through your waist can then go out through the fluke, and other tails that they don't have that water just collects inside your tail and just weighs you back, slows you down. Like the rigidity, I can't say that word, of monofins makes a huge difference. A competitor monofin, like 1 or 2 kicks from a competitor monofin, it doesn't matter what tail it's in, it's gonna shoot you across the pool, just shoot you. But you're doing something like a foil, and let me tell you, you're gonna do like 50 to 100 kicks. Like, it takes a long time. The benefit of some of these smaller monofins though is that they really force you to make sure that your form is correct, because if your form is not correct, you are not going to move forward. Definitely for me, I'm very floaty, and in my flukes that have like a foil monofin in it, like my main orange Merbella's tail, the fluke is always floating up behind me unless I put weights in it. So I find it really difficult for me to get like this. I'm always kind of like this when I'm trying to swim. So yeah, they do make a big difference. And I know Tia asked about that as well. And we did do a study, and there is a thread on Murrah Network. I can't recall the exact numbers off the top of my head, but our she creature was our slowest tail. It was so slow, in fact, that people could swim faster with just regular feet and regular bifins. They could go faster than the she creature tail. There was just a lot of drag. That's not necessarily bad though. We use the she creature for a lot of beautiful flowy underwater videos. It's not a performance tail meant to make you zoom and do corkscrews and go really fast. It's meant to be this beautiful visual flowy and floppy tail, and graceful slow movements. It's great for flips and turns because it bends and moves so beautifully. It really just depends on what you want your mermaid tail to be for. My original mermaid tail, my first silicone, had a competitor monofin in it, and I was a very weak swimmer, and that really helped me swim better. It was really, really great. The downside is that I formed a lot of bad habits with my form because the competitor monofin would go so fast. And so I kind of formed all these bad habits that once I got in a different tail, I had to, it was a big difference for me. Thickness of tails make a difference. My Merbellas are really thin and pretty floaty. My old green Mertailor that I recently sold, it was very thick and dense, and I actually would sink in it a lot easier than the other tails. It also depends on how much oxygen is actually trapped in the silicone. Some groups use a deoxygenator, which takes the oxygen out so you don't get that porous. Others cut their silicone with another material that gets put in there to make it denser or lighter. It depends. The same way that you can use turpentine to kind of like cut paint, it's the same thing. Nobody really talks about it, and it's sort of like industry secret, so it's hard to really know. If you're trying to make a decision about what tail to buy, definitely just watch some videos, ask people for reviews. If somebody will let you borrow theirs just to try, like at a pod meetup or something, do it, because it's really good. There's lots of little things I wish I had realized, like switching from a competitor monofin to a foil monofin. My feet were used to a competitor, and they're spaced further apart, so my ankles never hit each other, and where I would get my blisters was different on a competitor monofin than a foil. When I went to the foil, my feet killed, and I had to buy like full-on booties, and it took me a really long time to get used to it. So that's a good one to look at. And Hannah wants to know, what is the propulsion like on the Mertailor Fantasy fins? Is it just for show, or does it help with your swimming? I have review videos specifically on these fins, but the long story short is his first fin I would put on par with a foil. His second fin, the Fantasy 2, I would put on par with a rapid or a wave, in my personal opinion. It depends also on your form and your ability to swim as well. And again, when I'm wearing fabric, I float like crazy. Wearing a weight belt makes a huge difference for me. So when people look at my videos, they're like, wow, you have no push. Well, guess what? I could have a competitor monofin, I'd still have no push because I float so bad. In fact, fabric. So I'm not necessarily the best person to check out for that. If you check out my friend Stephanie Shells, she's Mermaid Saphira on Instagram, and she is a killer in her fabric tales. Like, I watch her videos and I am hypnotized because she's such a damn good swimmer, and she's just gorgeous. And I've been doing this, like, I'm going into my 11th year, and I've had to really work at my swimming. I do a lot of training, I do my free diving, I swim laps, but because of the float, like, I'm always at a bit of a disadvantage. I watch Stephanie and I'm just like, damn, why can't I swim like that? She's so good. Definitely check her out. Merman Jax would like to know if I could explain why Merman Jax is so awesome. So yes, let me preach to you about Merman Jax. First of all, he's beautiful inside and out. He's sincerely such a wonderful human being and such a wonderful merman, and he's an amazing man. He's just an amazing person. He's helping to run the California Mermaid Con. He's got his amazing business, Dark Tide Productions, where he's running the show there. He's so professional. If you are a young budding merman and you are looking for a merman to look up to, definitely search out Merman Jax. He is definitely amazing. I have a ginormous straight girl crush on him. He'll never love me, but I love him. We'd make beautiful babies, I swear. He's so amazing. Eric would like to know, how do you deal with cold temperatures? Well, cold temperatures suck. I have done so many gigs in freezing cold temperatures. It sucks, it sucks, it sucks, it sucks. Because when you get there, you can't do a darn thing about the temperature, and you are still being paid and you have to suffer through it. One time, I did experience a loss of motor control because I was hyperventilating from being so cold and not realizing it. That is why it's so important to have a safety diver with you. In this instance, I had a lifeguard who was also a mermaid, and she was spotting me along with my merwrangler. I came up to the surface, I was so cold, and then all of a sudden I felt warm, and then I got disoriented, and then everything started to go dark and I started to go down. And even though I'm a floater, I started to sink, and they just jumped into action, hooked me under my arms, pulled me out, got me warm. I was done for the day, right? So yeah, cold water sucks. We live in the Atlantic Ocean, and when we do ocean gigs, we can only do them really in July and August, occasionally in September, but even July, it can be freezing cold. We went to do our free diving course in July, and it was what, 4 degrees Celsius? 4 degrees Celsius, it sucked. It sucked. You get like an ice cream headache. It's so cold, and your teeth chatter and your lips turn blue. Definitely you need to be prepared. Even our tank gigs, until recently, they didn't have a reliable way to heat the tank for us because it's not our tank, we rent this tank. They would fill it with water and put like a solar blanket on it and try to let it heat up for the whole day. And if it was a really hot day, you didn't care if the tank was cold because it was relief. But after you're in there for a while, even if it's like 30 degrees Celsius outside, that water is coming out of a fire hydrant and it starts off at like 4 or 5 degrees Celsius. And it would heat up throughout the day, but I mean, it would maybe get to like 15, 16, 18 if you're lucky, and I'd still be like teeth chattering. And then it really sucks if you had that water and it was raining and cold out, because then we froze. So recently when we did our gig in September for Dr. Sylvia Earle, they were able to finally figure out a method to heat it that kept it warm, because the tank is small, we can't keep a heater in the tank or we'd bang into it all the time. So they were able to keep it warm for about 3 hours, but it was too warm in the beginning, so we couldn't go underwater and look through because we'd like boil our eyeballs. So we're still working on that. It's still tricky. Cold water, it's all we have. So we just kind of like suck it up and do it because we still want to enjoy our ocean, right? There's nothing fun about it though when you get cold. Sean has like a 7mm wetsuit. I only have a 4, and I'm gonna have to sell it and get a warmer one because I just freeze. So that's all the time we have for now. I don't want my video to be super long. There is gonna be a part 2 if you want to hear the rest of the questions. Don't forget to like and subscribe and click the bell for more notifications. Check me out on patreon.com/Raina Mermaid. Thanks for checking it out. Thanks for listening. If you've got questions for me for my next Q&A, please leave them in the comments. Best wishes!